Hey, this is George.
Hey, this is Fred.
This is Real Talk with George and Frazier. What's going on, brother?
What's going on, brother? I'm chilling. What about you?
I'm good, man. Just taking it day by day. It's Friday. It's my niece's birthday tomorrow. So after I get done with the show, you know what it is. I got to go outside and clean up the yard. I got to set up
Yeah.
the canopy. I got to vacuum the pool. Oh, man, my wife just be getting me, man. I'm just like, man, this is crazy. But it is what it is. It is what it is.
I know, right? Hey, your little birthday parties, man. It's fun. All the friends will come over, eat all your food, and look at you like, wow, happy birthday. And nobody will get
And and leave. Nah, it's not even a happy birthday party. They'll do all that and then they'll leave. You know
oh
what I mean? They'll act like they want to help. Oh, do you need any help? And you'd be like, yeah, I need help with this, this, this. And they only bring one little bag. Okay, this is what I did. And then they leave. I'm like, it's crazy,
exactly.
son.
They
It's
call
crazy.
help by help.
It's crazy. But what's good with you?
Not much. Usually in Miami, chilling, relaxing. No usual. Hot. The sun, Florida.
Yeah,
Good
that
weather.
Miami heat. So remember
Oh,
you was
tell
laughing
me.
at me about, oh, George, you look cold, this, that, third, and blah, blah, blah. I said it was going to change, phrase. Look, it's a balmy 81 degrees in Jackson, New Jersey. I'm
You know
chilling.
what?
Look, got the t-shirt on. I don't got to worry about that heat you in right now. Man, it's crazy.
Hey, we can wear short year round. What about you?
You got that. You absolutely got that. You got that.
I gotta win.
Yeah, man. But yo, check this out. We got another great show, man. We got an artist with this YoungBlaze. He's doing big things. Man, went gold on his album, shooting
Nice.
videos, short films. Yo, let's bring the big him into the
You know,
show.
greatness, man. Don't try for greatness over here.
What's up, brothers? What's
How
good
y'all
with you?
doing, man?
Oh man, what's going on?
Thanks for being on Real Talk.
Oh, no problem. Can y'all hear me? Can you hear me clear?
Oh,
Yes,
we
sir. We
real good,
can.
brother.
Perfect, perfect.
Awesome. So tell the fans and the listeners a little bit about yourself who don't know you.
Well, man, I'm from Chicago. Everybody don't get scared. I'm from the South Side of
Hold
Chicago.
on. We
But
duck now. We duck now. Hold on.
but I was blessed to be in a situation to understand my talent at a young age. From being an artist, a rapper, to being a producer, from being a producer to being a cinematographer, from filming and things like that. So, man, I've been blessed and a lot of good things from me doing a lot of stuff. I was able to do it independently. I teach and preach always independency. No disrespect to record labels or all that other cool stuff, but at the end of the day, I'm all about ownership. So the dopest thing was, for me to have a song, actually this plaque right here,
That's right. That's right.
We
to be
see it. We
able
see it.
to sell over 500,000 independently. You know what I'm saying? So it was definitely a blessing. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Dang,
And can
George.
you explain to the, I'm trying to get a question out fresh. Not that I'm speechless. It's just the fact that I'm proud of what this brother has done because it's
Exactly.
not independent gold, which it was 10,000 albums. This brother
Exactly.
actually sold 500,000 records. Okay, so that
Exactly.
means that it's not impossible. And the best thing about it is he owns 100% of it, which means that for what he's been able to accomplish, he wasn't paid penny on the dollars by record labels.
Exactly.
So it
Yeah.
was definitely something. But that goes to my question that I have for you. I just wanted to lay it out a little bit.
Okay.
How hard was it to do that? Because right now, a lot of independent artists, either who are getting started or people who actually want major record deals, think that that is unaccomplished. You can't accomplish it, or you need a major record label to be able to pull that off.
Well, first and foremost, patience. That's one thing. And the ability to believe in yourself. And I know this all sounds very cliche, people say it, but like the thing I can only say is that it really boiled down to me really understanding what I had. So perfect example. So this record, the name of this record is called That Girl Ain't Cute. And it was a single. And I released this record, believe it or not, in 2000 and I want to say like 2009 professionally.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? So when I say professionally, like it came out with a barcode and all that other stuff like that. So the beautiful thing about this particular record was that I was already getting it bubbling and popping on YouTube. And shout out to it's a guy named Timothy De La Ghetto who was on Nick Cannon's show. Wildin' Out. He's the Asian dude that was on the show, and he was like a big fan of mine, and we like had a cool friendship or whatever. And he already had a crazy following. So what he did was, we had talked about him taking the record, putting it on his YouTube, and then it blew up on YouTube, on his YouTube, and it got like, I think even to this day right now it's like at 19 something million something views or something like that.
Nice.
But at the time it was like 10 million, so that was still a lot. And that turned into a situation where, you know, record labels did approach me. You know, they wanted to basically figure out like, how can we make this work? You know, how can we sit down and create something? But I was in a predicament of where it was like, I produced the record, I mixed and engineered the record, I wrote the record, and you know, it was like what they were trying to offer me wasn't nothing. You know, it was crazy, and you'd be surprised like how intriguing it is to sign because of the things that they kind of say that they can give you.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's sort of like, if you're really about your talent, you know that that's not really worth it. You know, it's sort of like if you put a lot of work into building your dream car, you know, you took a 77 Mustang and you put all this work and effort into it, only for you to go to like a, you know, like a CarMax, and they say, well, you know, we'll make sure that we put it in the front. You know, we'll put it in the front, but we'll give you like maybe 5,000 for it. You like, nah, like my work and sweat and blood that I put into this is definitely not worth that. So it was one of them situations. The blessing was I was patient enough to not deal with that. And of course, they put me in a situation where I felt like, man, maybe I should have signed it. But you know, I stayed diligent, and it put me in a situation to where, now I will say the only thing that I did sign was a single deal with the record label overseas, but I had 100% ownership of everything. And the dope thing about this record was that it was an artist that was really big overseas. Her name was Ellie Jokar. Shout out to Ellie Jokar. And she wanted to be on this record so bad. So like I said, by me having 100% ownership, 100% of everything, they had to agree to my terms for me to make it work. And I own the record, publishing, everything to this day. That record has basically paid all my bills, you know.
Nice.
And like I said, it took up to, so when I released it in 2009, it did a slow burn. So all the way from 2009 up to, I want to say 2017, it got certified gold. And that's all independent, physical CD sales, you know. So, you know, streaming didn't come into play with that record until I want to say, you know, 2015-ish or something like that. So I was able to basically see physical, tangible money, not like how the streams are. The streams are a little weird because it's like they pay you like a percentage of a cent, which I didn't even know was possible.
Yeah,
hey, it is what it is. So,
Right.
you're right. I got a question for Instagram for you. It said, what motivates you?
What motivates me? Man, to see like conversations like this, man, just to talk with people across, you know, the world, or you know, across states and stuff like that, to sit there and have a conversation and see that we're on the same path and you can learn something, you know, whether you basically say, man, you know, I'm trying to get into doing my own thing. How do I do it? And like I said, knowledge is power. So I don't mind sitting down and saying like, look, this is how I did it. And then on top of that, like, I just love to create, you know, I love to create. So I think the blessing was that when I was creating and just being creative, the money wasn't really even a factor. You know, it was almost to a point where I felt like, wow, I could get paid for this. And I just love doing it.
Right.
And everything just kind of fell into play. So then the motivation really showed that like all the people that I was affecting, you know, like I was blessed to be able to do big tours. Like my first big show was in the Kingdom of Bahrain, the Middle East. And anybody that knows what that is, that's near, I was in Manama, and that's like sort of like, it's like the baby version of Dubai. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, you got Las Vegas and then you got Reno. So, so Bahrain is kind of like, it's a baby version of Dubai. And, you know, but don't get it twisted, man. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous out there. And that was my first show I did. It was like 5,000 people. And like I said, it's on YouTube. Put in YoungBlaze, Bahrain, and you'll see like this show. I document. That's one thing I love to do. I document everything so people can see the proof. Yes, sir.
Nice. Well, I got another question for you. Well, two more questions. Questions coming in everywhere. I'm telling you, coming everywhere now.
I'm for it.
Now. I got another question is, how do you maintain your creativity?
Being around other people that are in the same mindset, you know, conversating with people that are very ambitious. You know, that's the one thing that I've always been blessed to be around people that was like, yo, I want the same thing you want, or I want to be able to achieve something bigger. you know. And the one thing that I was blessed to do was being able to sit down and say, okay, I want to figure out how. It's like I want to make a song on a Monday, and I want to have it done and completed by Tuesday, out to the world by Wednesday. And that took for me to basically sit down and see, like, you know, my peers, you know, to see them in whatever profession that there was, whether it was somebody that was like, I want to be a car salesman. I got a friend that's like one of the dopest lawyers, you know, in Chicago, and I seen him just achieve it, and that gave me the inspiration to say, man, I could definitely do what I want to do, you know what I'm
Right.
saying? So that was basically the key, you know, staying around good people that was pushing.
Nice. Well, the last question I gave you is, so people say, I guess they know you really well. Say you love inspiring others. So who inspires you the most?
Well, I want to say, of course, family. You know, my dad. You know, my mom, God rest her soul. You know, it was one of them situations where I was able to actually see. You know, and the funny thing is, my parents were musicians. You know, so it
Right.
kind of it runs in the family, so to
Right.
speak. And so the blessing was that I was able to kind of see their, you know, things that they did with their lives and things that they were doing. But, you know, outside of family, honestly, man, it's experiences. You know, it was experiences that when I went over to the Kingdom of Bahrain, and here it is, I'm thinking like, man, nobody really knows me over there. I go over there, and it's one of them situations where I got thousands of people wanting autographs and all stuff like that. And I'm just sitting up there like, dude, I'm just a kid from the south side of Chicago. Like, what y'all want with me? But
Right.
it was something that it showed me that I had something, you know, that was intangible. And that really inspired me to basically say, you know, even if I didn't sell 500,000 copies of that or whatever, the amount of friendships and the amount of people that were coming to me saying, yo, track 15 on your album really helped me get through a relationship situation and things like that. So that really, really inspires me, like, very thoroughly.
Right. Let me follow up on that with inspiration. I know you have a new album you said you just released, Darker Days, Brighter Nights.
Yes, sir.
Can you tell the fans a little bit about that?
It's like a
Yes.
movie. It's like a movie. The best way I can describe it is like if you went to see, like, you know, like how the Avengers type of you know, those type of very over the top productions. So I wanted to take that same aspect and apply it to an album. Even the intro has like this really dramatic, orchestrated, you know, and that's the one thing I'm into. I'm into scoring too. Like, I've scored a few films and that's
Nice.
stuff that was on Netflix. So I took that same skill and I applied it to, you know, creating this album. And a lot of the songs on there was basically some songs that I had recorded like years ago, but I said, you know what? I want to go back and revamp them, and I want to basically give my fans, you know, this older sound mixed with this newer sound. So that's the best way I can describe it. And, you know, the title "Darker Days, Brighter Nights" is unorthodox. So that's the title. The title meaning the songs are gonna be the same way. Where, you know, I'm rapping over like orchestrated beats, and I got another track where I'm rapping to gunshots to a Tech
Mhm.
9, and I'm showing how fast I can basically keep up with the weapon. And, you know, because that's one of my trademarks. Like, I like to rap extremely fast. You know,
Mhm.
and shout out to Tech 9 and Twista. You know, like, these are like
Oh
my
yeah.
inspirations.
Crystal.
You know what I'm saying? So that put me in a situation to where, like, I showcase all of my skills on it. So I produced a good 95% of the album. Um, and, you know, I got some dope features on there. Shout out to my homeboy CEOOD. Shout out to Rich Law. All these super dope artists that's on there, man. So you guys just gotta check it out.
No.
Nice. And I also see you have a short film. Is
Yeah.
that relates more to the music video or to the song, or how is that relate all together, or is it
Man,
separate?
you know what? Actually, so I did a short film / music video. I was in my Michael Jackson bag where,
That's right. That's right.
Oh yeah. Oh
I
yeah.
wanted to, you know, create like a movie, a whole experience. So it's called The Surface. And so it's basically a track on my album where I'm basically rapping about like not giving up. It's in the same vein of Creed, because I'm not sure, you know how
Yeah.
if you guys seen the first Creed, how it was really inspirational, and how he was just really, you know, he wanted to really
Yeah.
kind of achieve his goal. So
Mhm.
that inspired me to make this record where it's like, no matter what you're doing, it's a goal that you got to reach. You're going to come across all this other extra stuff. So thus I put it in the same vein of boxing. So the music video is like five, maybe six, maybe like 6 or 7 minutes worth of acting. And shout out to this dope actor named Dewan Austin. He came through, and he read for the role, and I had worked with him before on a few little projects, but this one he was like, man, you gotta let me do this, Blaze. You gotta let me do it. So I took a chance on him again, and I said,
Yeah.
all right, cool. So it's super dope. It shows like him having struggles in life and trying to basically be the best boxer. And he's having some pitfalls happening, but he has somebody that believes in him. And then once we kind of go into the whole ordeal of that, it goes into the music video, and you get to see me in the gym working out, and showing him basically doing this thing. So yeah, man. So it's a movie / little film. It's called The Surface.
Nice.
Now, where we can find that, where the fans can find that, because they know we're gonna look for it. You know we're gonna look for it. So where is that?
You could go to YouTube and just put in YoungBlaze The Surface, or you can go to my website, youngblazesite.com. Yep.
Nice.
Nice.
So let me ask you, Blaze, because you're doing a lot of things. You're doing short films. You're scoring music for Netflix. You got albums dropping. You got a lot of things happening. How do you compartmentalize all that to make it work?
It's one of them things like understanding balance. I really have to understand balance, because sometimes it's been times where like I work so hard where I forget to eat, which that's when you really are in that zone. But I had to kind of really realize that, like, if you're not balancing, you're kind of basically isolating. You're isolating yourself to where like you cannot basically inspire as much as you want to, because it got down to situations where, like, I mean, I'm in the studio like 24/7, and then go to sleep maybe an hour or two, wake back up, do something else, and then I'm doing that for a whole another day. But then I realized that, like, conversations like this, with cool people like yourself and fans, man, to actually have some time to sit back and actually reflect and recharge. And that goes back to like what I said, having a circle of people around you that's like, man, I want to do this too, or let's talk about our goals, because you get a chance to sit back and kind of recharge. And that's basically what puts me in a situation to be able to do everything, so to speak. And plus I love it, so it's not work.
Exactly.
When it feels like work, that's when you kind of start feeling like you start making excuses to get out of it.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's kind of basically how I'm able to kind of balance, but balance is the key.
Nice.
Now, do you have, I know you have people around you, but do you have a team that can regiment that? So for instance, do you have a cook that makes sure that you're getting the proper nutrition that you need? Do you have a manager that schedules you? Do you have somebody that says, no, he can't do anything now for the next 24 hours. He's resting, decompressing, whatever it is. Keeping that circle around you that really has your benefit in place, and not just the naysayers that, yo, I'm hanging with Blaze. You know what I mean? Those kind of people that can really suck the energy out of you. You know what I mean? When it comes to a lot of different things.
Yeah, I do. I have a small team though. Like, I have a very small team, because at the end of the day, like, you start to realize that sometimes some people are not, even though they want to help, they don't have the best way about doing it. You know what I'm saying? So, not saying that they're trying to, put you in a bad situation, but it's just sometimes it's like, the smaller kind of the better, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I have a lawyer, shout out to Jordan. He hopefully he sees this, but he's like a cool guy that like basically makes sure that, I'm on my taxes. That's one. You know what I'm saying? You got to, you know what I'm saying? He makes sure I'm on my taxes. He makes sure when it comes down to like people trying to license my music, he's the guy that tells me like, okay, this is what it costs. This is what, he's the guy that gets to be the bad guy, so to speak. And shout out to a good friend of mine, / business partner, my friend Marcus Lipsy. We've created a nice entity of, being able to house all of my music. We're in the midst of transitioning our company, but, he was basically real pivotal in making sure that, when I needed to get these music videos done, talking to like location scouts and things like that, because a lot of that, especially when it comes out, and I learned very quickly that when you're doing these music videos or films, you have to have somebody to help you with that. Like, you can do it all. So yeah, so definitely, man, and then understanding as far as, now it's funny that you mentioned like cooking and stuff like that. Like, I'm learning that myself, like, because I'm into working out and health. So I'm basically like learning, understanding like, okay, my, nutritional values that I need, when I'm hitting the gym. So that way I'm operating at an optimal level.
That's right.
Nice.
Well, we are into working out and health ourselves. Both Frazier and I are martial artists, lifelong martial artists. I'm an instructor.
Nice.
And the whole gamut, and a few other things as well with that too. And it's definitely that's I tell my son all the time, the one thing that you can't sacrifice is your time and your health, because of the two
Right.
things really that you kind of can't get back, so to speak. But I
Yeah.
also want to transition the conversation a little bit to promotion and marketing. One of the biggest
Yeah.
things that where artists fail
Yes.
if they don't have the promotional and they don't have the marketing in place. Now they have a homeboy hookup at the local radio station that'll play their song at an off
Yeah.
hour, but they don't have the marketing in place to say, okay, we're going to go regional first, then we're going to go national, then we're going to go international. How
Yeah.
have you been able to lay that out for yourself to be so successful?
Well, first of all, I think in the mindset of what exactly it is I want and what's tangible. Because I mean, it's cool to have these ideas of like, yeah, I want to be worldwide known, but then you got to understand what comes with that. To be worldwide known. Like for a Drake, I can guarantee you, it's like 30 other people that helped him get there, and it's 30 other people with their hands in his pocket. Whether it makes sense for an artist or not, that's their prerogative. But for me, I had to understand this business very thoroughly. You know what I'm saying? Being in a situation where when this record got professionally released, I understood what was considered rollout sheets. What they
Mm-hmm.
consider that. That's basically like how much a record costs to actually put out. Um, so to kind of put it in perspective, a lot of records cost like to put them out. And if you sign to a record label, it's gonna cost you starting about $250,000.
Mm-hmm.
And this record was like, when I remember the conversation I had with the record label, it was somewhere along the lines of what they were spending. And I remember I was like, but wait a minute, I thought my record was so dope. I thought everybody liked my record. Why y'all got to put all this money into it? They
Yeah.
said, we're putting money into it so people can have an opinion about it, so they know it exists. And the good thing is that people know that heard it like it. So we're pretty much doing good. But the thing I really, really can say to help an artist really understand how to get your music and everything out there is understanding branding.
Yeah.
And what I mean by branding is that I can ask an artist, and I had this conversation with people all the time, that like, if I ask you what kind of hotel Nike would have if they decided to make a hotel, I guarantee you we can all sit up and say, oh, we know what's going to be in the hotel. It's going to be like pictures of Jordan. It's going to have all these things that's going to kind of circulate this brand, because we understand the branding of Nike.
Exactly.
Now, if I was just ask you that same question and say, okay, the Hyatt, they're gonna start making sports shoes. Do you know what they would look like? You'll probably be like,
No.
No.
because it's not proven. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So I tell artists it's all about branding. You know what I'm saying? So meaning, the beautiful thing about it is, if I put out a record, and I've seen it so many times where like I've seen an artist put out, like I shot a music video for an artist, and it got 100,000 views, but they couldn't sell any records, unfortunately. Versus like if I put out something, and let's say I just basically only do like 10,000 views on it, I can guarantee you I know what fans are purchasing, and I'm basically seeing all of that money, whatever the case may be, because my brand is basically it solidifies with the group of people who basically come to my website. I give them value, so they come to me when it's something they want specific, and they want something that they can get fast, they want something that has quality, and they want to have a visual to it, and they want to have interaction. And then on top of that, I do like these funny little stories with my niece where it gives insight to the record. So these
Right.
little funny little stick figure characters. So it's all about branding, and I tell people, don't do the quick fix thing where you're just saying, let me pay for views, or let me pay for somebody to take this. Because and I've been a victim of it too, where I said I seen somebody with a bigger brand or a bigger fan base, and I say, well, let me pay them to put my music on there. But what happens is that turns into a situation where that person is going to receive all of the glory, so to speak. And because I had that happen with a record. One of my other biggest records is called I Get Sex. That record got so huge for me that a lot of people didn't know it was mine.
Mm-hmm.
And it's over, like, on Spotify, has over 1 million streams, everything like that. And it was a big YouTuber / Instagram person that he didn't even know it was my record, because he used it. I gave him permission to use it on his hit, but all it did was make his brand bigger. You know what I'm saying? Because, but I mean, I still got paid and everything like that. But I tell people, establish a brand. And going back to the example of the Nike situation, just think of that. What makes sense for you.
So let me ask you, just back to that real quick. You said the YouTuber used your music, which is not, it's not unrealistic for that to happen. He licensed it. He did
Yeah.
everything you wanted to do. You made sure that you got paid. But how did he present himself to it? You see what I mean? Why didn't he say this music was made by Blaze
Yeah.
Young? Check out Blaze Young. If he's using it, where was the shout out to say this is his album? Y'all need to, you know what I mean, to go and do this, that, and the third.
See, what happens is when you have a record that becomes viral, it's like it's hard to kind of control it, so to speak, because everybody wants to jump on it really, really quick. And what happens is the particular individual, he kind of like saw a phase of other people using it. So he was like, okay, this would be good if I use it. In the nutshell, what happens is, of course, YouTube and all the analytics of, Instagram, they don't catch it until later. And then they'll basically let that person know like, hey, this is copyrighted by this person. And then from that point on, that's when they kind of like do the thing of, they allocate the funds and the licensing correctly to the artist or the label.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what happened. So it was like we didn't have a relationship at first, where it turned into where he was just like, and I get it. He was just trying to like beat everybody to the punch because the record was doing what it needed to do. But like I said, it helped his brand, but then it didn't until later on. That's when we came back to the table. He's like, yo, I didn't know you made this record. I was just trying to get the record and trying to hurry up and make a skit.
Yeah.
And you'll see that a lot, especially on TikTok. But the beautiful thing about it is because I own the record, when it got flagged, everything went back to me. So that's how I was able to have that conversation. Unlike some artists that like when they do records or they don't own the track or they didn't license it correctly. So when it's time for that algorithm of YouTube
the tracking algorithm, right?
Yeah.
It's like it's kind of up in limbo. So that's another thing. Make sure you have all your paperwork and everything with your records thorough.
And so how did the relationship work out? Are you guys still cool to this day, or how does it work?
I mean, we're cool. It's like, he's kind of transcended into like another area of his what he wants to do. You know what I'm saying? So it was like it was for that moment in time in that place. I'm pretty sure if we had decided to reach out with another record, we would basically thoroughly come together now and basically say, okay, this is how we can approach it, versus like we didn't have a relationship and he just took the record and decided to make a skit out of it. But that's the beautiful thing about the internet. That's how a lot of people discover, and that's how a lot of people discover a lot of my music, especially like my songs that went very viral, which is a record called 344 Words in 1 Minute, I Get Sex. It's another one. I don't know. I don't think I can curse, but it's it's called F This I'm Out. That's the name of the record. And that's going crazy viral. And that's the beautiful thing about the internet. Like, it's the wild, wild west. But eventually, it gets, when you got your paperwork in order, it gets governed.
Nice. So what is your marketing now, and what's your distribution look like now?
My distribution is still the same in the sense of I basically know. So my website, I have a beautiful relationship with the people over at Bandzoogle, and shout out to Bandzoogle because I've been with them for a while. I built my website, and they basically handle my distribution because they have a direct connection with CD Baby, and so I get to put out as many records as I need, everything like that. They handle that aspect of everything, but as far as the aspect of understanding, I own the copyrights and everything like that. I'm able to see exactly where my music is being played, who's playing it. These are little analytics that a lot of artists don't know that exist. My website is like shout out to, YouTube and IG and all that stuff. But you need a website because I'm able to track every single person that came and bought my album. I have a direct connection with them, And the blessing was, for this album here, Darker Days, Brighter Nights, the first week I did about like maybe 6,000 something sales. And every single person that that bought it, I was able to see exactly where they was from. They name, first and last name, and message them, thank you, and everything like that. So, I'm very, very like independent in a situation of like, let's deal directly.
Exactly.
So basically, go ahead, finish your thought.
And I was gonna say, and this has paid my bills. I've only had like two jobs in my life.
Nice.
And I'm in my 30s. What I'm saying, and it takes care. My family. All the other people that's situated. My lawyer's happy. I can guarantee that. So, because a lot of people think that because they think that you need to be in front. They think that you need to be on television. You need to be all over the radio. But you'd be surprised. Those are the people that are not really making that much money because, like I said, the more exposure you have, the more hands are in your pockets that made that
Yep.
happen.
Right.
And I've
Exactly.
seen that so many times.
Exactly.
No, absolutely.
That's true. 'Cause I would go back to the same thing you were saying, like the YouTuber user music, everything like that. I know finally on TikTok, like they use a lot of like skits with the
Yep.
music and stuff and blast it up, whatever, and also do it on YouTube. Like, do you find that inspiring sometimes, or you mind it, or do sometimes you feel like they kind of not respecting music in a certain way, or when they do certain skits and stuff?
I think it's free. I feel that everybody's entitled to, because as an artist, we make the music for you to be able to be creative. So I'm for it. The only time I think it's an issue is that, like, when it's other people involved and they're taking advantage of that artist. And what I mean by that is that, let's say I was working, I made a record and I put my heart and soul into it, but I got like three other people that like it's sort of like kind of like my manager and like a label situation. They're getting paid and they're basically making sure that, and then I'm sitting here with my hands in my pocket like, what so where, how do I benefit from this? And I
Right.
can see how that can break an artist's spirit, because your song is blowing up all over TikTok, and but you're not really seeing any type of nothing. Only thing you getting is people are like, oh, that's your song, oh, that's cool. And you know and I can understand how that could hurt, man. And that's why I really really tell people, man, understand the business. And I'm very transparent. Like I've had artists that come over to my studio, and I will show them like how much a record has made, a single has made. So, and it's not to basically show off, it's to show them that this is very tangible.
Right.
Like the things that I've bought and the things that I have is because of what I've been able to invest far as into the record and what the record has made back.
Right.
True.
So I've learned the infrastructure, so to speak. When I did that deal with this record, I understood the infrastructure. And once you understand the infrastructure, it's like you really don't need nothing else. It's sort of like if you work in a 9 to 5, what I'm saying, and you start getting close to how they have a relationship with the manufacturer, and you start understanding how the manager worked and the order of command. And then let's say you were able to say, I want to create my own business, and now you're able to get a direct connection with a manufacturer and stuff like that. You start learning the infrastructure. You kind of like, I don't really need to work here.
Right.
I'm gonna start my own thing.
Right.
Exactly.
That's the best way I can put it. That's the best
That
way
is
I can
true.
put it.
That's true though. And let me ask a question too. But also being independent artist and selling so many screen records, do you find yourself the need to perform live to promote your album? Also, because a lot of artists with labels have to perform. That's how they
Right.
get their money. So,
Yeah.
like, do you feel the need to have to do the same thing, or by you being independent, you control more of your appearances, more how you want to make your media appearances?
I mean, I would say all touring is always fun. Like it's always a necessary situation because you get to physically see people. I mean, during the post COVID situation, but for the most part, you're able to actually. That's where where you're basically doing well at. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? Because you can do you can sit at home and make all these records, but then when you
Yep.
do a show and only like 2 people show up, it's a disconnect somewhere. It's like it gives you the time to sit back and kind of fix and figure out what went wrong. Artists that signed to labels, what I'm saying, they have to do that. It's like
Yeah.
it's so mandatory because they're not really making money off of the record per se. What I'm saying? So that's why it's necessary for them. But unfortunately, the record labels have figured out a way to put them in what they call 360 deals.
Yep.
Yeah.
So now what happens is you'll get in a situation where you're touring and everything like that. It used to be the record labels wasn't taking none of that money. They was just taking the record,
Exactly.
but now they figured that, man, nobody's buying records like that, so we need to figure out a way to tax all the way around the board. So now an artist now can start feeling like, what's the point of me doing this when I'm not gonna benefit as
Exactly.
much as I think I should. Then and taxes is another thing. That's a whole nother story within itself, because once you think like for a perfect example, you see a lot of artists that sign deals that like are like $1 million or something like that, or you hear about these stories. Well, I can guarantee you, if you didn't set that up via LLC or something like that, and you just took that personally, then $300,000 or $350,000 is going for taxes automatically. So you left with like 650 or something like that. And then not to mention, you have a lawyer, you have lawyers, you have all this other stuff going on. So they're taxing that. So now you're probably down to like maybe 4 or something. So you see how this can get very frustrating really quick. So now, you know, you have to pay to get the album done. You got to pay all these producers, and you can't, when you're in a level operating like that, you can't just go to your homie and say, yo, here's $100, make me a track. Nah, they're going to basically say, you got to allocate those funds to our in-house producers. You know, we give you a list and you can basically figure it out, but this guy might cost 20, that guy might cost 50. So now after you get this album together, you got like all these producers, you're left with like maybe like 300,000. So now you want to sit there and, you know, you want to have a little fun. You buy a car that's like $60,000-$70,000, and now you want to buy a little house or whatever. So you can see how this can kind of add up. So then a situation happened where your album doesn't do that well. So if they gave you $1 million, that means that you need to come back with like you needed to make sure that you brought back like 3 or 4 at least minimum. You know what I'm saying? And if you ain't doing that, then you go into what they call cross collateralization, where all that debt is put to the next situation. And you can't really now, and that's where now when you're touring, that money has to be taken from the touring and given back to. It's crazy, man. But I mean, like I said, like
explain it.
I didn't know all this until, like I said, when I had leverage. You know what I'm saying? What I mean by leverage was that the record, when I put it out on YouTube a long time ago for That Girl Ain't Cute, the fact that me and this guy, that goes back to what I said, like me and the guy that helped the record, we had a relationship. So when it got all these millions of views, you know, we was able to sit back and look at it, and then, you know, he was getting offers for like his skits, and then I had other record labels that was hitting me up. I had some big names. I had some real big names that was like intrigued with trying to sign me, and like goes back to, like I said, I was not impressed with what they were offering. It was almost like, yo, sign and we'll figure it out from here.
Right.
Exactly.
And,
that's how you do it. That's true.
That's not what you really want to do. You know what I'm saying? And I can get a person, usually a person, the mindset of a person that takes those type of deals is usually the person that's like in a situation where it's like, yo, I don't got nowhere to live. I don't got nowhere to sleep, eat. You know what I'm saying? I just got out of jail, whatever the case may be, but I know I'm talented. So now they're in a situation where it's like, yo, man, this is better than nothing. So they usually take those deals. And then once they get in the industry for a while, then they start understanding their value. But by that point, they're kind of locked in. You know, they're in a situation where it's hard to get out, or the label kind of, and once they get smart, the label kind of pigeonholes you a little bit. And I'm not saying all this to say labels are bad. It's a terrible situation, but you got to kind of put a little bit of due diligence into anything you get into, whether it's a relationship with anything or anybody. So record labels can, you know, they could put you in a situation where it could work for you, because being independent, I'm not gonna lie to you, like you have to do a lot.
Everything.
You have to do a lot, you know. So, you know, and that put me in it. But the beautiful thing is that made me understand that this is what I love. You know, I really love it, because, you know, you eventually sit up there and be like, so wait a minute, I got to put all this money into this record. I got to put all this money into this equipment, and it's a possibility I might not make it back.
Right.
I mean, that's the fear of any business owner, right? So
exactly.
And that's, believe it or not, that's what the record labels, people don't understand. That's what they are. They're kind of like banks. They have to put the money in and they have to get the money out. And it's not just get the money out. They have to get the money out with a profit, or they're not in business. You see what I mean? And a lot of independent artists really don't understand that. And that's why you said they always want to go for that deal, because they think throwing everything at it at once through this particular vehicle will give them the success that they need, you know. But you're saying, and I like the fact that you're saying it, if you know your worth, you can still be successful. It's just going to take just a little bit longer.
It is.
You know?
It is. And I'm not gonna lie to you, it's not easy, but that's why I'm saying you got to know if this is really what you want to do, if you love it. And I was blessed to be in a situation to where, like, I was just always doing creative stuff and I wasn't getting paid for it. I was just like, you know, okay, let me continue doing creative stuff, and then eventually I'll find a job.
Right.
You know, the blessing was the first big break, I guess you could say, I got was I produced a track for Twister.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that was the first big break, so to speak. And you know, it was a unique situation, because I understood, like, okay, I was like, man, I can actually get paid off of this. This is crazy.
Exactly.
You know, and, you know, but, you know, it just kind of puts you in a mindset of like, okay, it's another level, it's another step to this.
Right.
You can see how a lot of people can get burnt out, because, not to mention, you got to watch out for certain people that are trying to take advantage.
Snakes. We call them snakes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's why you got to keep your circle very. You got to keep your circle very, very low. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because when you got it too wide, you can't see all the angles. You know what I'm saying? You can't really, it's just it's too wide, and you don't know what this person is doing and that person,
Yep.
and you know, it's like weird. It's like trying to have like 40 people on a basketball team. It's like,
Right.
who do you start?
Right.
It's
Exactly.
crazy.
Only five go on the court. You got like line. Like who I'm gonna put next in? You
Exactly.
you the dribbler. You're point. So I understand exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you one of my greatest downfalls, and when I was doing my label was the
Okay.
fact of the matter is a lot of artists believe that they can do a lot better, but they won't put an effort into the same way they wanted it to. What I mean by that is like I'm a star, but you're not putting star quality effort into it.
Yeah.
Like you say, you did an album on Monday, right? You
Yep.
produced it on Tuesday, out by Wednesday. That's my method. I love that method. That gets stuff done. They believe in I'm gonna write on Monday, play on Tuesday, I'm gonna rehearse on Wednesday, Thursday I'm gonna try to lay it down. Friday I'm gonna be in the studio about 2 hours trying to lay one verse. We ain't talking about a song. We talking about one verse.
One verse.
Then by Sunday they like this. Man, I'm burnt. Burnt for what? You ain't doing nothing yet.
Yeah, nah, man. It's no days off, but you still got to understand balance, and that's why I'm saying that's what makes me feel like a lot of people that believed in me, they took sacrifices, because they saw it and they saw what I was doing. It's like you don't want to be a part of a team when you don't see, like, the coach ain't even showing up.
Exactly.
So that was kind of where I was at with it, where everybody that invested in me, they saw how much I already was putting in. They already saw how much. So it wasn't like they had to come and say, "Man, you talented. What you should probably do." It was always like, "What can I do to help?"
Right.
You know what I'm saying? What can I do to add to this experience? And even sometimes I had to even kind of turn some people away because it was like,
Yeah,
I
it
don't
could
know
be
where
too
your
much.
money came from. You know
Exactly.
what I'm saying?
Exactly. And it
you
could be
know,
too overwhelming.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And like I said, and like I said, I do a lot only because I love it. So like, I mean, from doing producing and producing and mixing and engineering. So I'm the guy that's basically not only producing the record, I'm also mixing it, and I do the Quincy Jones thing too, where I sit down with an artist and it turns into a psychology session where I need to understand exactly who you are, so we can kind of like really vibe and mesh. You know what I'm saying? And I understand. I know how to make my record sound dope for me, but I think what's super dope is being able to take that same type of talent and energy and work with another artist and bring that out of them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like true power for me is just not what you can do with yourself, but what you can do for others.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And that's really where I'm at with it. So that's why, like, I don't mind being transparent with a lot of artists that I sit down with, because like I said, Monday I'm working on a record, Tuesday I'm shooting a music video, Wednesday I'm actually in the studio scoring and sitting there doing something for a film.
Right.
So it's
So let me ask you. Netflix has always been suspicious. So how do you get a song scored on Netflix? Is it through the production company, or do you have a hookup?
It's a little bit of both. I'm not gonna lie to you. It does boil down to that came from connections, but I will say this. Outside of connections, make sure you treat people very right, no matter what position that you're in, because the way how I got in the Netflix scoring situation was I was doing some work for Interscope, and it was a guy that was there. He was a super cool guy. He was like an intern, and you could tell he was like kind of like all over the place, but he didn't really know too much about how to do a lot of things or whatever. But I would still sit down, conversate with him, and I would help him out from time to time. And then I remember he told me, he was like, "Man, Blaze, if I ever get in a position of doing something or whatever, man, I'm gonna look out for you, blah, 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 blah."
Yeah.
I'm just like, man, I appreciate it, man. It's whatever. And
Yeah.
he kept his word, you know what I'm saying? And he started a small company where he was doing, at the time, he was like kind of like taking brands and taking music and kind of putting them together. And that was the first thing we did. We did some stuff with a car company, which was super dope. And then that transition, he transitioned over into Netflix. And that's when he was like, "Man, I'm working with this person that's doing this movie, and you got a song that would sound really good. Let's add it to it." So yeah, man, it came down to connections, but the one thing I stress is always treat people right. You know what I
Right.
mean? Because
Right.
you know, had I been like, you know, like looking at them like, yo, you just an intern, whatever, I guarantee I wouldn't have got that position.
True.
Right.
Guarantee
Right.
you. So
That's
yeah.
that's my motto. You always treat people like you want to be treated. I
Yeah.
always treat people like family. I mean, I treat you like family. You made me think otherwise of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Whatever,
Yeah.
you know, because you all never know. Like you say, you never know who's where, who can put you where, who can help you do what. You know, like for
Exactly.
this, me and George met. I met George. We were talking off the bat. George said, "Hey, that's a bad deal." I'm like, "Don't do it, boy. Don't do it." I'm like,
Yeah.
"Why is this mount, this?" The Ava, he like, "Look,
I
I've been doing
said,
it for a
I
while.
told Praise, tell him, I said, I'm from there.
I'm
Okay.
from
And
there. I'm
the
gonna tell
only
you how it
reason
goes."
why this real estate deal is not working, X, Y, and Z, blah, blah, blah. By the time
Nah,
I got
man.
done, Blaze, look, Praise was like this. Oh, oh, okay. I got you. And I said, any other deal you want to review, work over this, but this particular deal, the way that it is, it's not going to work. Now, I
Yep.
easily could have said, look, this is my fee. I'll do the consulting. I'll
Yep.
do this, that, and the third. Boom, boom,
Yeah.
boom. But it wasn't like that because
Yeah.
Frazier was honest. Frazier was like, I'm down here in Florida. And I was like, look, I'm a landlord myself. I know exactly what that is. So I'm not going to sit here
Yeah.
and just put you through the ringer. And
Yeah.
just because you're not around here and stop you from losing your shirt, basically, because it was one of those deals that actually could have happened. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
from that relationship, we here today.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's basically like how a lot of the relationships that I've gotten has been because like I've always been humble, you know, how and people they see the things I could do, and so they automatically some people think like, oh man, I know he's big headed, I know he might be this, but I'm like, nah man, like what's up, how can we help each other? And
Yeah.
that usually just kind of blows them away because they just be like, dude, it was so cool and easy to work with you. Or sometimes like just like the situation with you guys, like I've had people come to me and they be like, so Blaze, this guy, he wants to do a music video for me, and and he's charging this or he's charging that. Does it sound right? Or or I'm gonna do this record with these people and they want this percentage. Does it sound right? I'll be like, nah, don't
do it.
don't do it. You know what I'm saying? And and I'm and I, at the end of the day, like I've had people just like, and I don't even charge like no consultant fee or none of that. I just say, hey, look, we have a conversation, and hopefully you can take that information and be great somewhere with it, and that puts people in a situation to where, because the one thing I say is that you never know when you might need that help.
Exactly.
Right.
You never know, like because like I don't plan to be rapping and doing this until like I'm like 60. I mean, I want to, but I want to enjoy other things, and like at that point, I want to be able to like understand like how yachts work.
Right.
I want to kind of move into them areas, but I want to be able to kind of create bridges to where I can reach back for people because I've helped them or whatever, and it's nothing for them to say, oh no, Blaze, I got you, because whatever I might have worked that did for them, cool. And even if they don't, what I'm saying, at least I got the peace of mind knowing that they went somewhere and they didn't get taken advantage of.
Exactly.
Right.
So,
Exactly.
What tips, Blaze, do you have for young entrepreneurs, not just in music? Because what you said can be applied to any business model besides music. You see what I mean? Real estate, you name it, finance, you name it. Look, my daughter just started selling fidgets at her summer camp, and she came home 2 days ago at like $18. Okay.
Nice.
Her mom was my wife was upstairs when she was like, "What are you doing upstairs?" She's 9 years old. She yelled downstairs, "I'm working out my business." Straight up.
Yeah.
Straight up. Your girl hit me with a business plan and everything. She had a price list, everything.
Beautiful.
Okay?
Nice.
So I'm just saying that to say that that bug can be caught at any age. And so what tips do you have besides the stuff that you mentioned here for young entrepreneurs, man?
Everybody's opinion is sometimes not for you. If you really believe in it, you really have to really believe in it, because to even add more sauce to the situation of this record, believe it or not, this record was produced on a Sony PlayStation, the very first Sony PlayStation.
I'm moving that.
And I didn't. And the thing is, I didn't have the money to buy the equipment, and everybody was getting all these MPCs and they was paying thousands of dollars, and I'm just like, yo, like I don't have that type of money. Like I need to figure this out. And PlayStation came out with some type of game that you could basically make beats. And at first I was like, man, this is so stupid. I don't want to do this. But then the crazy thing is I stuck with it and I learned how to manipulate it, and I started making unique beats, and people was like, yo, I'll pay you for that. And then that's when I started realizing like, yo, I might got something here. But then I started coming across people that had, the thousands of dollars equipment. And so I'm in the same room with them, and I'm holding my same value, they seeing that I'm kicking it up with them. But then sometimes people will be like, oh, you made that off the PlayStation? You'll get two types of people.
Yeah.
Two types of people that was intrigued and impressed. Then you get the other type of people that's like, oh, you ain't gonna go nowhere with that, man. You need, that's not gonna work. It ain't gonna work out for you. You need to get some real equipment.
Yeah.
Like I said, this was made off of the Sony PlayStation.
Right.
It ain't about real equipment. You know what I'm saying? Even some of the music videos that I do. And I tell people this, that they think that I might have a red cam. Don't get me wrong. I get access to all these crazy expensive cameras, but like a lot of the movies and stuff that I did and filmed was done with a $600 camera.
Right.
Yeah.
And they're just like, wow. But I understood lighting and I understood lenses. So the thing is, everything can be done, but it's tailor-made for you. So you could take a person's opinion, you know what I'm saying, but just understand that's all it is. It's not law. So if somebody tells you like, oh, this is not good, I mean, just take the constructive criticism with it, and that's it. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, continue to see it all the way through. Don't stop because somebody said that, no, that's not going to work out. Because I mean, we wouldn't have all the things that we got here now, like right. The way we're communicating. This was somebody's thought. This was somebody. Right. This platform right here was somebody's thought that basically said, I want to be able to create something where I can have people come and join and chat and talk. You know what I mean? So, and always stay outside the box. Because I'm the type of dude that when people say, is the glass half full or is the glass half empty? I'm the person that's like, why are we using the glass?
Glass at all.
And what's the liquid we using? You know what I'm saying? Right. So, man, really, really understand that your gifts and your talent is specific for you. So people can make opinions and they can tell you, no, this ain't how you do it. This ain't, you should do this. Just, like I said, you can cherry pick if you want to, but just always still go through it. And if you fail, by all means, just see what happened, see what made you, what was the process, and do it again and approach it at a different angle. Because I'm the king of that. You know what I'm saying? For every record that did success, it was some records that failed.
Exactly.
That's true. Absolutely true.
Exactly. When they say nothing can be solved unless it's failed first.
Facts.
So if you never fail, you can never succeed. Master P said it. All the greats said it. Socrates said it. All said the same thing. If you never fail, you never learn. If you never learn, you can never be successful.
Yeah, man.
And, that way. Now I'm gonna ask you a question, right? I'm gonna test some bars right quick. Can you give us a little sample of the bars you were practicing?
Sample of some bars?
Yeah, I had to do it. I'll wait on it.
What do you say, Fred? Just 8, 12, or 16, whatever you got.
Yeah, what are you? 8, 10, 12.
I spit a young flow to keep y'all haters thinking. My verse is closed caption. You're seeing what I'm speaking. I'm cooler with the flow, so get excited when I'm breezing. Got a chick that's half black and half white and Polynesian. And that's a little something I'll mess with on the weekend while people at Olive Garden, I'm in their garden to eating. I don't like to brag. I usually keep it on the subject because I can embarrass people like little kids pissing in public. And haters getting mad with their hands up like bump it. They like, man, this dude, YoungBlaze, just ain't budging. A lot of haters losing their static. How these haters want a problem when most of these haters fail mathematics? Admit it, homie, listen, I'm here. Their rapping style is like Bow Wow cussing. It's just sounding too weird. I feel like hating. It's just too much hostility. Dude, this ain't a movie what they die hard for, like Bruce Willis be. I think they need to learn a new lesson because I can go back to the past and whip their ass and bring them back to the present. And after I've into the present, I'll jump into the future, then probably lose you, come back to the present somewhere and shoot you. Probably jump in tomorrow, research you on the computer. Tomorrow was every time. They was just always some losers.
That's right. That's right, Blaze. That's right. You heard it here first.
Hold on. Somebody know you said you can sing too.
Somebody said I can sing.
Said you can sing too. Somebody put you out there. They said you can sing too.
Well, you know what? Wait, hold on now. We're gonna hey, you can't give it all away at the first show, man. We're gonna bring him back for that. All right, you trying to just take all the juices, praise, and suck it out of him. We got to bring him back for that. Now, you tell them I said, hold on. All right, we're just gonna be throwing everything out there now.
Hey, I'm with it, man. Like I love this platform, man. I love just the conversation and just the vibe and the aura that you brothers bring, man. This is super dope.
We definitely appreciate you, man. Let everybody know where they can find you on social media.
Put in YoungBlaze. It's all together. It's spelled the regular way, YOUNGBLAZE. If you want to go to my website, it's YoungBlaze site, site.com. But for the most part, Twitter, I'm not really on Twitter, but if you do want to go on Twitter, it's YoungBlaze, Instagram YoungBlaze. And those are the ones I'm mostly active on. So
Nice.
Oh, and YouTube, YoungBlaze.
Oh, see, there we go. Now, my famous speech always is, welcome to the family, brother. You family now.
Hey, I appreciate it, brother. Hey, like I said, man, I really love this vibe, man. You guys are awesome.
We definitely appreciate you, man, for being on the show, man. We salute you for what you've been able to do, man, and definitely the pearls that you dropped here on the show. I hope that everybody actually listened because it was just valuable, man.
Exactly.
I agree. It
was a blessing, man. It's great.
Absolutely.
Blessing.
Ain't no doubt about it.
Appreciate y'all, man. Thank you.
No doubt. All right, brother. You, be blessed. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Blessed, brother.
Thank you. You too.
Peace.
Man, look here, man. George, man. Fingers go to get that rubber. Got a rubber, George.
No doubt. Y'all, I hope y'all appreciate that show, man. Y'all have a great weekend. Hey, this is George.
Hey, this is Fraser.
And that was Real Talk with George and Fraser. Peace.
Peace.